The Canadiens and Golden Knights start quick and propels them to victory on Friday evening. Welcome to NHL Wraparound Stanley Cupdate for Saturday, May 9th, 2026. Vic and Neil with you. We actually look pretty smart, at least when we previewed the Montreal Buffalo game for Friday night, saying that we thought the Canadiens, coming off that third period with an 11-1 edge in shots over the Sabres, were going to carry that into game two. And for once, we nailed this.
As I said to you during the game, this looks like the fourth period of game one. And sure enough, it was. In Montreal, they just came hard at Buffalo, right in their own building.
Josh Stone with a turnover, and it's Alex Newhook, his first of two goals on the game, tipping in a Caden Gooley shot at 1:36 to make it 1-0. And then Philip Deneau wins a faceoff, and it's Mike Matheson getting a shot through a screen. Right off the bat, it's 2-0, and this game has an entirely different feel than game one.
Oh, absolutely different. And this is what we say about the playoffs. The team that loses makes the adjustments they think they need to make. The team that won says, let's do it again. And sometimes you see a totally different game as the games go back and forth. And I'm sure in game three, we're going to see another totally different game.
But we also saw these legs that we've already mentioned for Montreal, 13-8 in shots, 25-17 in attempts. And you know how I feel about hits, but sometimes there is a little bit of an indicator there. And that the hits were 20-10 in that first period. Buffalo making more hits, and that's telling me that the Sabres had to do a little bit more chasing in this game.
Well, certainly in that first period, Montreal had the puck most of that period. So, yes, Buffalo was chasing the Habs, and when the other team has the puck, that's when you distribute hits, and certainly the hits kept on coming there in the first period.
As power play expired for the Sabres early in the second, Noah Dobson took a big hit from Jason Zucker behind the net. Still got the puck around the boards to Jake Evans, who came down on a 2-on-1. And Newhook gets his second of the game. And it's 3-0. And I felt the game was over right there.
Well, and you were right. It was over.
Yeah, but not like I'm, going out on some sort of limb here. But even at 3-0, it felt that was a backbreaking goal at that time.
Oh, absolutely. Because you feel like you can come back from 2, but to get 3, that's a big mountain to climb.
Sabres did get on the board late in the second period, and before they did, Dobish took a shot at Zach Benson, who was down on the ice. Both of these guys are pretty feisty. I mean, we already know about Benson, and of course he drew what we were expecting to be a suspension on Charlie McAvoy. That happened at the end of Game 6 in the first round. But you know what? Dobish has a little bit of piss and vinegar in his game, too.
Well, he's the one that came out of his crease to bump Benson when Benson went in front of the net earlier. One's a big man in Dobish, and the other one's a little guy in Benson. But little guy Benson, you got to give him a lot of credit, boy. He just loves when the things get nasty out there and everybody's chasing after him. He loves it.
That was the lone bright spot of the night for the Sabres, in my opinion, because with 38 seconds left in the second period, this was a signature shift. And, we hear so many of these commentators, for you boys and girls out there. But in this case, this was really something to look at because he had a takeaway behind the Montreal net, kind of a mishandoff between Hudson and Dobson, set up Rasmus Dahlin for a shot. He continued working, went right to the net, off the post, and he converts off a pass from Connor Timmins.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was an amazing amount of work that Benson put in a very short period of time there, in like a 5-10 second span. He just was relentless and then went to the right spot at the right time and scored that goal. All of a sudden, hope sprung eternal in Buffalo. I felt like, well, now 3-1. Look at that goal. Okay, we're coming back now.
Well, I'm going to pour some cold water on this right now because about 4 minutes into the third period, we had mentioned that the big guns for both of these teams were struggling in this series, and perhaps the signature of this was Tage Thompson catching his skate, lost the puck, and Alexander Carrier coming down the left side, scoring unassisted off a 2-on-1. And at that point, it's 4-1, game over, and Nick Suzuki puts the finishing touches with an empty net goal with just over 4 minutes left.
Yep, and that was all she wrote. And Montreal got a well-deserved victory in that game. I'm sure Lindy Ruff's going to make some changes going into Montreal. But this one won't be as easy for the Canadiens and hard on the Sabres. This one might put a lot of pressure on the Montreal Canadiens, their first game at home of the second round in a long, long time. The place will be nuts, but I'm not sure that it's going to work the way people think, that it'll be an amazing motivator for the home team. Sometimes the road team in a situation like that bands together and has a lot of fun being, the David and Goliath type situation, and they're David.
Well, we'll address comfort on the road in just a second with the Golden Knights playing in Anaheim. But for the Canadiens, they get their goal scoring coming from down the lineup. I thought Jakubowicz far sharper. And as you said, now Buffalo has to regroup and have a response for Montreal. They are going to come out totally juiced. And so often you hear about the first 10 minutes and survive those first 10 minutes. And if Montreal can be disciplined, not be overzealous, that's going to put heat on Alex Lyon and the Sabres early. And to that end, maybe Lindy Ruff turns to PekkaLuukkonen.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Does he do that? But I did think that Lyon was really good again in game 2. I couldn't fault him for those goals. But it's going to be a pivotal game, I think, in the first game in Montreal.
Game 3, Sunday, 7 o'clock on ESPN. I have a question for you regarding this Vegas-Anaheim game number 3. Who's flipping the bigger bird this morning? Torts it us because we picked Anaheim to win this game? Or Mitch Marner at the Toronto Maple Leafs for an absolutely virtuoso performance in this game?
Mitch Marner, with no doubt, had probably the game of his career. And for those Toronto Maple Leaf fans and media who said that he couldn't play, he couldn't produce in the playoffs, well, listen to this one.
Just like the Canadiens did up in Buffalo, it's Vegas starting quickly, just 66 seconds in. It's Shea Theodore coming in through the high slot, taking a pass from Jack Eichel to make it 1-0. And then later in the first of 4 points for Marner, because he intercepts a pass in the defensive zone while the Golden Knights are shorthanded, then gets into the Anaheim zone. He holds, he assesses the play, and then a little drop pass to Braden McNabb, who scores on Lucas Dostal. I think this was a play that maybe Dostal lost his net a little bit. And it's 2-0, and these 2 goals coming from defensemen to open the scoring for Vegas.
Yeah, and really making a statement right away. And at that point, Vegas was being outshot by Anaheim. Carter Hart was doing a great job, but it looked like the ice was tipped towards Vegas. And no, Vegas came back and got those 2 goals. One of them shorthanded, which is always a stinger.
And on a late power play in the first period, it's Marner banging home the first of his goals on the night, makes it 3-0. And at the beginning of the second period, we've got a new goaltender in the Anaheim net with Ville Husso replacing Dostal.
Yeah, I don't know whether that was Quenneville giving Dostal a rest or he felt that Dostal wasn't on his game. Certainly couldn't blame him for the Marner goal because Marner got that puck. He was behind the goal line when he reached around and put that in with 5 seconds to go. But now you go to the locker room, you've had a 5-on-5 goal scored against you, you've had a shorthanded goal scored against you, and you've had a power play goal scored against you, all in one period.
That's a pretty lousy cocktail. And in the second period, about midway through, it's Marner taking a pass from Theodore. What great hands in deking Husso and putting a backhander in to make it 4-0.
Oh, fabulous. Great skill set.
And then some subtle board work. And from behind the net, Marner comes out in front, and he completes a natural hat trick to make it 5-0 in the last 4 games. Marner, 6 goals, 3 assists, 9 points, plus 6.
Incredible. Obviously, John Tortorella is pushing all the right buttons, and good for him. I mean, some coaches can get through to players in certain ways, and obviously this is one of them because Marner is doing a great job.
Tortorella also has full appreciation, probably more appreciation now coaching him than when he was coaching against him. Marner almost had a 4th goal in the 3rd period, but hit a goal post. Beckett Seneca did break up the shutout at the 6:30 mark, tapping in a rebound of an Alex Killorn shot to make it 5-1. And then Troy Terry to Chris Kreider with a little under 5 minutes left, and it's 5-2. And there were actually a series of plays that could have gotten the Ducks to within 2 because Seneca, Mikael Granlund, and Kreider all had chances, and Troy Terry hit a post. But then it's Brett Howden with his 6th of the playoffs already. He only had 12 in the regular season. Empty net goal, and that put it away for Vegas by a final score of 6-2.
Vic and Neil become wrong in picking Anaheim to win the game last night as Vegas skates off now with a 2-1 lead, and much to the dismay of the Orange County fans.
One thing to keep an eye on here for Vegas, late in the first period, Mark Stone kind of limped off into the Vegas locker room. He had a little bit of an encounter with Alex Killorn, but it didn't look like there was anything there that would have caused any sort of injury. So we're going to have to see if he's going to be available for game number 4.
It looked to me like he's playing with a pre-existing injury that he gets worked on before the game, and then he goes out and plays. But if he gets hit in a certain way, that can really cause a lot of pain, and it looked to me like that's what it was in this game. I don't know what the injury is, but he never got hit hard enough to cause an injury.
A couple of other notes before we leave this game. The Anaheim power play, which was 50% against Edmonton in the opening round, 0 for 11, the first 3 games of this series. But I thought also that the Golden Knights really showed their experience in this game. Similar to when they were down 2-1 against Utah, they responded with a big win in Game 4 and were able to finish off the series in 6. And in this case here, they lose Game 2. They weren't great in Game 1, but they come out to Anaheim and deliver clearly their best game of the series.
And this is what I'm talking about with Buffalo going into Montreal for Game 3. Perhaps Vegas was just a lot looser in Anaheim than they were at home in front of their home crowd, because they certainly looked loose. They certainly looked, comfortable. And maybe that's what could happen with Buffalo going into Montreal. Who knows? But Vegas did look like the more experienced team, and we'll see what adjustments. Again, we say this after every game, but what adjustments do the Ducks make now to thwart Vegas Golden Knights in game number 4?
Which will be played at 9:30 Eastern Sunday on ESPN. The Saturday schedule, 2 games, Carolina at Philadelphia at 6 o'clock on TNT. The Hurricanes lead this series 3-0 and will be looking to become just the 5th team in NHL history to open a postseason 8-0. The 52 Red Wings, 1960 Canadiens, of course, both winning the Stanley Cup because there were only 2 rounds back then. The 69 St. Louis Blues, and the last to do it, the 1985 Edmonton Oilers. So a little bit of extra motivation here for the Hurricanes as if they need any. But now they can become part of history also.
Yeah, I don't think the players think much about the history perspective on this thing. I think that's more for the fans and other people. I think their motivation is to get this series over with as fast as they can, get the guys that are injured or are playing injured rested and worked on, and get ready for the next series, whether it be Buffalo or Montreal, but they'll have some good time off.
Any shot for Philly in this game, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think there is. I really do think there is. I thought Philly would win one game, And we'll see. We'll know in the first period whether or not Philly's got a chance to win this game.
Is this you more wanting to be right because you picked the Hurricanes in 5?
There could be a bit of that. But no, I just think it's hard to get a sweep. It's just really hard to get a sweep in any round. And Philadelphia won't want to skate off the ice in their home rink, saying goodbye to their fans for the season, having lost this game and having been swept. They'll try as hard as they can not to let that happen.
Yeah. Happened to Ottawa already, and I think it's going to happen again tonight. The later game being played at 9 o'clock on TNT. Colorado at Minnesota, Game 3. The Avs leading 2-0. Joel Eriksson did skate on Friday with the Wild. He is now listed as day-to-day, but will not play in game number 3. He was injured in Game 6 of the Dallas series. Jonas Brodin is still out. But on defense, Zach Bogosian back in, replacing Jeff Petrie. And for the Colorado Avalanche, Josh Manson could return to the lineup in either of the 2 games in Minnesota, so perhaps he plays even this evening. He was injured in Game 3 in the opening round series against the Los Angeles Kings. And this is a game that obviously Minnesota has to have, and you can see a little bit of the wear and tear starting to take its toll on that first pair of Quinn Hughes and Brock Faber.
Yes, you can. And it's going to be a tough one for Minnesota. Colorado is really playing well. What's your guess on this one?
I think it's Minnesota in this game. I think they pull together at home. I think even if Eriksson isn't 100%, and clearly he's not going to be, he's a key cog in that lineup. I think having the last change for John Hines is going to help in this game. And I think Minnesota is too good to go down 3-0.
Okay. Well, I'm going to take Colorado.
Of course you are.
And we'll see tomorrow who's right and who's wrong. And who are you taking, Carolina, Philadelphia?
I already told you. Carolina.
You're taking Carolina? Yeah. I think we're both taking Carolina.
All right. Hart Trophy finalists announced on Friday, same as in 2024. Nikita Kucherov was the winner in 2019. Nathan McKinnon was the winner in 24. And Connor McDavid, a 3-time winner. Where you go with this one?
I'm going with Nathan McKinnon without any doubt. That's who I think will win this one this year.
I think you can obviously make a case for all 3. Kucherov's production, particularly given all the injuries that the Lightning had to deal with this year. And I thought that with Leon Draisaitl injured late in the regular season, Connor McDavid really carried the Edmonton Oilers into the playoffs. But McKinnon, consistent throughout, the league leader in goal scoring this year, President's Trophy. I think it's all there for him to win his second Hart Trophy in 3 years. Reach us individually at Neil at NHLWraparound.com or Vic at NHLWraparound.com. We're on all podcast platforms, Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and YouTube. Leave a review or please subscribe. We picked up another few subscribers again on Friday, so we keep moving now towards that 900 mark. You can also find us on X, Instagram, TikTok at RayD8.tv and Buzzr.com. That's BZZR.com. Our website is NHLWraparound.com. And Neil, as we go live next season and we put a call out, if anybody wants to advertise with us, they will also get website placement should they join our team.
Absolutely. We'd love to hear from you.
Spring cleanings will resume on Monday. We have 20 teams complete, and again, all of these will be released over the summer. Edmonton, Boston, Utah, and Tampa Bay all coming up during the course of next week. So enjoy the hockey on Saturday and on Sunday. Take care.